Imagine hitting a stone, and it rings. Not for a second, for an hour. In November 1969, NASA deliberately crashed a spacecraft into the moon. They expected nothing special, a few minutes of vibration at most. The moon vibrated for 55 minutes. A solid rock shouldn't do that. So what's inside? That is the question we have never properly answered. Because the deeper you look, the stranger the question becomes. The Apollo 12 seismometers were sensitive enough to detect a footstep from 30 meters away. When NASA crashed the lunar module into the surface, they expected a sharp jolt, then silence. Instead, the readings went off the scale and stayed there. So what is really going on? One explanation: the moon's interior is layered in a way that bounces seismic waves around rather than absorbing them. Clean explanation: physics supports it. Except, when scientists modeled what that interior would have to look like to produce that exact signal, the numbers didn't match any known planetary formation process. Not one. The explanation raised a bigger question than the one it answered. How did the moon form with an interior like that? The interior was the first anomaly. It was not the last. The sun is 1.4 million kilometers wide. The moon is 3,474 kilometers wide. The sun is exactly 400 times larger than the moon. The sun is also exactly 400 times farther from Earth than the moon. Why would those two numbers be identical? The standard answer? Pure coincidence. A cosmic accident of distance and size that happens to produce a perfect ratio. Here is what that coincidence actually looks like. No other planet in our solar system has a moon that does this. Not one. And the coincidence gets harder to accept when you add a third measurement.
The moon rotates at exactly the same speed it orbits Earth, once every 27 days. Which means from Earth, not once in all of human history has anyone seen its far side. Not from the ground, not with the naked eye, never. In April 2026, 4 astronauts flew behind it. For 40 minutes, no signal, no contact with Earth. Whatever they saw it alone.
3 independent numbers: the 400 times size ratio, the 400 times distance ratio, the perfect rotational lock. Each number on its own has an explanation. Physics works. But all 3 pointing at the same observer? Coincidence? And when scientists finally photographed the far side for the first time in 1959, they found something that made it worse. 2 completely different faces. Same object, fewer craters, thicker crust, no large volcanic plains. If the moon's surface is this inconsistent, what is underneath it? To answer that, you have to ask how it got there. But there is one more anomaly, and it doesn't just complicate the question, it changes what the question is. For decades, the best explanation for the moon's origin was the giant impact theory. 4.5 billion years ago, a body the size of Mars, scientists call it Theia, struck the early Earth. Material from both bodies was blasted into orbit. Over time, that debris formed the moon. Clean story, physics supports it, most scientists accepted it. But here's the question the theory has to answer. If Theia formed in a different part of the solar system, which it must have, its chemical signature would be different from Earth's. The moon, built partly from Theia's debris, should carry traces of that difference in its rocks. When Apollo astronauts brought back lunar samples and geologists analyzed the isotope ratios, the numbers made no sense. The moon's rocks are chemically almost identical to Earth's. Not similar, almost identical. That should not happen. A collision between two different planetary bodies should leave chemical evidence of both. It should carry Thea's signature. It does not. Researchers have spent decades proposing refinements, higher energy impacts, different collision angles, longer mixing periods. Every modification introduces new problems. As of today, no model fully explains why the Moon and Earth are chemically this similar. The origin of the Moon, the object every human who has ever lived has looked at, is still officially an open question. And if we do not know where it came from, do we actually know what it is?
Here is what the clues taken together tell us. Without the Moon, Earth would be unrecognizable. The Moon stabilizes Earth's axial tilt. Without it, models suggest the tilt could wander dramatically, possibly anywhere between 0 and 85 degrees. At 85 degrees, the poles face the sun directly. The ice caps melt, the oceans shift. The climate becomes unrecoverable. The stable world that allowed complex life to evolve, it might exist because of the Moon. An object whose interior we do not understand is the reason we are here to ask the question. But here's something almost no one talks about. The Moon is not dead. Scientists found evidence of geological activity as recent as 50 million years ago. Young fault lines, fresh surface ruptures. In December 2025, a Smithsonian research team confirmed it. A global map of the lunar surface, thousands of new ridges, young, widespread, still forming. The Moon is still shrinking, still moving, still settling. Something beneath the surface is still generating enough force to crack it open. And that's not the only thing. Beneath the South Pole, in craters that have never seen sunlight in billions of years, water, ice. On the Moon, we thought was dead. So here is where the investigation lands. We have an object that rang like a bell when we hit it. It sits at a perfectly precise distance from the sun, a ratio so exact it makes total solar eclipses possible. It formed in a way that violates the chemistry of every theory we have built to explain it. It is geologically active. It contains water in craters that have never seen light. And in 50+ years of spaceflight, we have visited 6 locations on its surface, on a body the size of Africa, and called it explored. 6 locations. The last human being to stand on it left in December 1972. No one has been back since. Do you think we stopped going back because we found nothing? Or because we found something? We are 384,000 kilometers from one of the most anomalous objects in the known solar system. And we have been walking away from it for 50 years. The Moon is active, anomalous, and we have barely scratched the surface. So, what's inside the Moon? The seismic data gives us hints. The interior remains poorly mapped, and that might be the most important thing science has ever admitted. And that leaves one question open. If the Moon is not what we thought it was, what else have we missed? Subscribe. The Moon was just the beginning.